So as Deborah gets the PowerPoint ready on the right slide for us to start, thank you for coming out. This is the first step really to being involved. Parents Challenge does amazing work with parents. Colorado's lucky to be a choice state. So you can choose where your student goes. Coming from different states, your child goes to whatever school sits in your neighborhood and it might not be the best. So in Colorado, you can choose wherever you want to put your student. You heard a little bit about my education and background. I started in South LA as a teacher. I was an administrator. And I saw that students went to their neighborhood school and it was not the best school. And I hated that for them. And so I always vowed that I wanted to make sure students had a choice of where they went. I moved to Colorado, became an administrator. I'm a superintendent here in Harrison, serving Southeast Colorado Springs. But I also am here as a parent. So my stepson came to live with us when he was in 5th grade. He was in a self-contained autism classroom out of South Carolina. He was a military kid, so he's bounced around to 10 different schools in K-5. And no one really knew what to do with him. That was back when autism was kind of still figuring it out. It still is, but way back. And so he came, they didn't know what to do with him, put him in a self-contained classroom. He came to Colorado, and I said, absolutely not. So I went to the school, advocated for him. We talked about what does that look like. He went to 2 different public schools. He went to a private school, and he actually graduated here from Sierra on a full-ride scholarship with wrestling and academics. That did not happen because of anyone in the school system. It happened because I was a parent in those meetings advocating for my son. School systems will do as much as they can, but you as the parent really need to advocate for your students, whoever they are. And I'm gonna, as I go through the presentation, I'm gonna tell you the parent side, and I'm gonna tell you what the teacher's thinking also, because it's important for you to understand both sides of it. And I got to see that, sometimes not gratefully, because my son was a little bit difficult, but you'll hear those stories too. So first thing, just reflect on what was your experience with parent conferences when you were little? Do you remember your parents going? What happened? Did they come back and tell you anything? So just take a couple minutes and talk with people at your table, or just reflect on what do you think back to parent conferences? And we will be sharing out, so it's best if people actively share when it's time, or you get called on. Okay, we'll come back together. Can I have 2 people willing to share either what their memory is or something that someone shared with them? So he already shared.
So I don't remember much about my parent-teacher conferences other than my mom usually just went, and it was just kind of, you just walk down the line. We went to the other very basic 5th grader. She's struggling. My dad never came because he works nights, so, but other than that, I don't remember much.
And it was like a night event where your mom went to the school? Yeah. Anyone else? I'm really good at wait time.
I had a lot of fun. You know, that was the only night that my parents were at my school because they were hardworking parents and never around.
So they made it a point to go that night to be there. So my conferences, I can recall, school was pretty easy for me because I studied really hard, and it was I was a perfectionist, so it was very important that I did well. So I was mortified to find out when my parents came home. I still remember in 3rd grade, I got in trouble because I didn't talk enough, because the teacher knew I knew the answer, but I wouldn't share with the class. And you know, my little 3rd grade 8-year-old self, I was like, well, why would I tell everyone else the answer? So I just remember thinking, what a confusing experience. Like, I thought I was being successful in school, and the teacher's saying I'm not talking enough. So that's just obviously a PTSD tragic for me. Can't get over it. So why are parent conferences important? I'm going to go around the room, and I want everyone to say one word why it's important. If you repeat the word, that's okay. So just think of a word, and we'll start over here, and then we'll just share one word. Why are they important? We'll give you some think time. Okay, ready? Go. You go.
I'll get her up there.
Okay.
Involvement.
Involvement.
Same.
Okay.
Communication.
Okay. Connect. Connect. Okay. Participation?
We had the same thing.
Accountability, okay. We're dealing with some Band-Aids right here, so we'll skip you for now.
Oh, I got it.
Are you good? Okay, why are parent-teacher conferences important?
Learning assessments and strategies.
Okay? Okay, communication?
I had communication too.
Okay, that's okay.
Can I read your book
Learning, okay,
this one?
okay,
What?
okay. So it won't surprise you, many of those words are going to be up here. So it helps you become a better parent. It helps the teacher teach your student better, because now I'm going to learn about your student more from you. So most of you have dropped off your kid at the first day of school, or you've met the teacher at least for this year probably. Your teacher knows nothing about that child you just dropped off probably. So you need every opportunity to tell them about your child. And then it helps your student know that you're on the same page. What does research tell us? Very important. Students whose parents are involved earn higher grades, higher test scores, and actually will earn a higher living wage when they graduate high school. They're going to go to school because you're involved. Funny story, I sent my student to senior skip day because I didn't believe we really had a senior skip day. And they called me and said, well, we don't have any teachers here today, so you have to come pick him up. So I did a little bit extreme probably. Better social skills, more opportunities, whatever they choose to do. If they go to the military, college, career, if you are involved, they will have a better chance to be successful. So talk about these questions with your table. What are conferences? When do they happen? And why do they happen? Go ahead and talk for a couple minutes, and then we'll come back and answer. So coming back, what are conferences? They're any time a parent and a teacher, or a guardian and a teacher, a family member and a teacher meet. It doesn't have to be officially on the school calendar that this is a conference. Or when they happen, most people will say October because that's when you'll have it on your school calendar that kids are off and they're home for conferences. But that's anytime you meet with your child's teacher, that's a conference. And then why? To discuss progress of your student. Deborah has this fancy clicker. So what can you do to support parent-teacher conferences? Number one's the most important. Most obvious. Most important. The average rate at a school of people attending parent conferences, just tell me what your guess is. What do you think? What'd you say? 25%. 20? 10%. So in elementary, it's about 60%. By high school, it's about 15%. So you got a lot of people going to those kindergarten conferences. By the time they're in high school getting ready to enter the world, you don't have a lot of people attending. Get ready for conferences. You need to do some work as a parent on your end to prepare to go, to make that meeting as meaningful as it can be. I know that teachers have class loads of 20 kids. If they're in high school, they might have 180 kids that they see throughout the day. So you need to make that small time you might have with the teacher most meaningful for you and get the information you need to get. Deborah, I keep going backwards. So how do you prepare? In your PowerPoint is a list of key terms, but also this is the best website I've ever found that identifies different terminology in education. Education is like a whole different language if you didn't go to school for it, and educators forget all the time to unpack what those words mean. So if you go to a meeting for your child, they'll tell you all these things about these test scores, you don't even know what it means. So help with that. If you have any questions, Deborah always shoots me emails about how do I explain this, what does this mean? It's okay to ask for help. So before conferences, here's some tips. Ask your student what they want you to talk to their teacher about. If you don't prepare for conferences, who controls the conference? The teacher. So who gets to tell the whole story of the conference? The teacher. Whose kid is it? So you control the conference. You go in and you talk about what you want to find out about. Because if a teacher doesn't have a parent who's going to advocate or speak up, the teacher's going to tell you all this information about test scores. Doesn't tell you why they don't want to sit by Robert. Doesn't tell you that they're bullying and don't want to go to PE. Doesn't tell you that they don't turn in their homework even though you see them put it in their backpack every night. So you need to control that narrative. So talk to your student. Find out what they want you to talk to the teacher about. They might be afraid to talk to the teacher about they don't like sitting next to so-and-so because they talk too much and they can't hear. Might not be cool to say, I don't want to sit by my best friend. So you can advocate. Make a list of questions or concerns you want to talk about. This is a professional courtesy. If you can let the teacher know what you're going to come in and want to talk about, then the teacher can prepare. So if you want to talk about someone's having struggles going to PE class, that gives the teacher time to go research what's going on and find out from other people what's going on. Then you'll get an answer when you go to the conference versus I'll follow up. And then plan who will attend. It's your child. You decide who goes to the conference with you. You can have a translator, you can have a neighbor, you can have grandma, you can have uncle. Now, many schools are going to student-led conferences where the student will actually walk through the conference, walk through the papers with you and identify how they're doing. I would suggest your student is not in the conference at the beginning, because if something goes awry, you don't want them sitting there. But you always want to bring them in. So even with these guys who are in third grade, they should be hearing what parents and teacher are talking about, because they have a perspective. They might say, well, that's not really why I'm not doing my work, or that's not really what's happening, let me tell you. It also helps students see parent and teacher on the same team. There were several teachers who I struggled with my son, but he never knew I struggled with them because I wasn't going to talk bad about the teachers in front of him. It's no different than you don't want to talk bad about if there's two parents or grandma, or, we always need to be on the same page for our students to see success. So here's some sample questions. What do you see as my student's strength and weakness? Very important to talk about strengths, because most parent conferences are going to be scheduled for 15 minutes, back to back to back. You're going to be rushed through. You don't have a lot of time. So teachers are going to focus on what your student needs to improve on. But you need to know what they do well. You also need to know that the teacher knows what they do well. As a parent, one of the first conferences I went to was all about how my son was behind and didn't do math well. So the first thing I said was, what does he do well? And the teacher couldn't tell me. That was concerning. That tells me there's no relationship or there's no trust that he can do anything well. Do you even believe in him? So making sure that you know that they believe in your kid and that they have some strengths. Every kid has strengths, we know that. But we have to build them up. Does my child participate in class? This is, again, I got in trouble in third grade, if you recall, for not participating in class. But this is a problem with a lot of our advanced or gifted kids. They just coast through because they can take a test, pass the test, and they're getting A's. But are they participating? Are they socially interacting with others? Homework, that's an easy one. Most places have things online now where you can check, did they hand their homework in? I don't know about you, but I checked my son's homework through senior year to make sure it was done. It still was not handed in sometimes. Like, I don't know where that went. But make sure you're keeping track of that. How are they meeting the standards? So that doesn't mean are they passing the worksheets that you hand out in class. That means if they're in fourth grade, are they on grade level with what fourth graders need to know? Standards have changed greatly since any of us went to school. In kindergarten, I only went half day, and I remember we watched Sesame Street for part of that, so I don't even know how we ever learned anything. But kindergartners now, most of them go full day, and by the time they leave, they write paragraphs. So what they're asked to do, whether we agree with it or not, because I have some feelings about that also, about kindergartners being able to play, but that's what they're expected to do. So you need to know, is your child on grade level? Because the farther they get along with the learning gap, the harder it is to close. And then the last thing, and teacher's favorite question, what can I do to help at home? Teachers are inundated with helping every student meet individual needs, and they can only do so much. So what can you do at home? Whether it's reading 5 minutes every night, whether it's doing math facts, whether it's having them write a paper, or write a paragraph to grandma or aunt, or whatever it might be. How can you help? So during conferences, you need to be honest. This is hard because a lot of parents see their child as with the angel wings and the little, halo on top. I get it. I've been a parent. I get it. But we can't get to help students unless we're honest. The other thing is stay calm. So my son's father, he didn't go to some conferences with me because he was just he's ex-military and he was angry. He was angry because his son wasn't performing. And he was angry at the teachers, and so that wasn't going to be productive. So he didn't go. Or he went and he knew he wasn't going to say anything, and we talk about it later because he had to control. But if you get upset, that doesn't help anyone. Ask your important questions first. That's a tip only because you're limited in your time with teachers. And so prioritize what you're there to talk about. What's the biggest issue in your child's education? And then listen. Make sure you're hearing what the teacher's saying. Even if you disagree, listen to what they're telling you so then you can respond. So last year when I did this presentation for the new group, I shared this slide, and a lot of people were offended by the first bullet. If you don't know what grade level work looks like, how do you know if your student's on grade level? Now, I'm not going to show her mom her paper with her name on it, but I'm going to show her work so she sees this is what an average 6th grade essay looks like, or this is an advanced 6th grade essay. We're not showing, individual names or identifiable information, but you want to see how your child's performing compared to the other peers. And that's your right. That's how we help you know where your child is. If there's things you don't understand, ask. Especially if you're going to a meeting for a 504 or an IEP, which are probably going down the special education route, or special plans to modify things so they can access different things. Acronyms are all over those. So ask the question. Setting goals and knowing what your student should do.
Been different. You don't know what they would have been or whatever. Or maybe if I had done something just a little bit differently. Maybe if I hadn't answered that call, gone to that one place, whatever. But here's the thing. You can't be living in guilt and shame the whole time in your life. It'll make you miserable. And it'll make other people miserable around you. Because misery translates to misery. If you've done something like we all have, we just don't let it haunt us. We just don't. And then there's healing memories. Healing memories are those memories where you think about something and you go, I hope somebody don't find out about that. But if they do, it's okay, I'm a changed person, right? It's the truth, because people judge you based on anything they can find. It doesn't matter. And then here's hopeful memories. How do you have memories and hope at the same time? It's because I've been an HR director. I was anyway for 5 years, and always interviewing and hiring people. And then people would, the same old questions. You go for an interview. The first thing people ask, tell me about yourself. Nothing new, nothing new. So people study the canned phrases and stuff like that. And someone said, well, what should I do when I go on the interview? I said, be you. I said, let me tell you, as a person who's looking for people, hiring, you're here because I looked at your resume, because there's a reason why you're in front of people who are hiring. So now all I want is that you to be you. You know, just be you and be the best you that you are. But most people can't answer that question, who are you? So look at this here, y'all. I just put there's some thoughts on this paper. Does everybody have one of these? So on this paper here, here's the first one, like, how do you see yourself? What are your strong points? What are your weak points? And so here's the thing about a weakness. A weakness does not mean you can't do anything else well. Maybe one of your weaknesses is procrastinating. I have been a horrible procrastinator. Even teaching, I would wait until the last week and try to grade papers that my students were like, you didn't give us any feedback, Ms. MJ. We don't know how to improve or whatever. And so all of that stuff I changed because I'm like, that's not right for them. It may be okay for me, but it's not right for them. I have here, what do most of your problems concern? What is the best thing that ever happened to you and why? Because we talk about the negative things all the time. You say all the time, right? All the time. Can somebody say all the time? Okay, all the time. And so at some point, it's okay, you're not arrogant. If you sit in front of somebody and they say, wow, I looked at your resume or whatever, I'm blown away. And so then you don't want to just like shrink yourself down. And when they ask you who you are, well, I don't want to be prideful. It's not being prideful, but you just share what your strengths are and what you do. So what I want you to do, look at number 12. What are the things in life that you love the most? Isn't that interesting? What are the things in life? Very rarely do we talk about what we love in life. How many of you, let me ask you, how many of you in life, and I know, of course, this is Parents' Challenge, and you have children, and there's challenges all the time. But I'm saying, when is the last time you enjoyed life for yourself? That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You probably don't have time to go and do stuff. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. Life for yourself. That's all. Even if it's 5 minutes, if you went for 5 minutes, that's all. You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. So, you probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. So, even if it's 5 minutes, you know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. So, even if it's 5 minutes, You know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. So even if it's 5 minutes, you know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. So even if it's 5 minutes, you know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. So even if it's 5 minutes, you know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. So even if it's 5 minutes, you know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. So even if it's 5 minutes, you know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. So even if it's 5 minutes, you know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. So even if it's 5 minutes, you know, probably don't have time to go and do stuff that people who don't have kids. So even if it's 5 See? Look at how that works. How many of you would say one of the best things that happened to you is having your children? Oh, okay. Well, one of the, okay. I don't know if they heard me. If I could have everybody's attention. You can't hear in the back? How many of you would say one of the best things in life was having your children? Uh-oh. Your children. Uh-oh. Okay, you start, I ain't lying. It's okay. No, it's just, yeah. It's all right. Yes. Yeah, I love it. Somebody said, I ain't gonna lie. Let me ask you this here. Let me ask you this. What is a moment in life that was a defining moment for you that you can talk about in here in like 30 seconds? What was a defining moment for you where things changed in your life? You're like, not gonna go, yes. Okay, when yeah, all right, your faith, yeah.
When I got pregnant with my oldest son, I was literally like full ride scholarship to CU Boulder and ended up pregnant before I could accept it.
Wow. No, that's okay.
I can't even because
Yeah.
I obviously was making different life decisions.
Yeah, full ride scholarship to CU Boulder, and you got pregnant with your son. Yeah, yes.
So it was a comment that my mom made to me. It changed me forever. She said she was getting frustrated with me because my sister's kids came over and they're messing up my house and I was worried about my house. And she was like, why are you caring so much about your stuff and you're not loving people? She's like, stuff fades away, but like your family and relationships are so important. And I just like, dude, it was like a slap to the face, but it like changed me forever.
Yeah.
It's like a one-liner that changed me forever.
Yeah, it's similar. It's a quote that says, the most important things in life are not things. And at some point, it doesn't matter how many shoes you have in your closet, all right? And it's gonna go there. It doesn't matter how many new sofas, how many whatever. At some point, it's people. It is community. It's connecting with people who have your heart. It's connecting with people who have your back. It's having somebody in your life that you can call at 1 in the morning if need be, and they're not gonna be, what you calling me? The most important things are not things. And one of the things in our society that is so difficult is how people clamor for things and more things, right? That's what you were saying. And then at some point you just kind of go, why did this person leave this big impressive job as a CEO or executive, whatever, because it wasn't fulfilling them anymore. That's why. There are people who are homeless right now because not just bad choices, some maybe. Some people are homeless because things have happened. I have a friend, she had a house fire and lost everything in 30 minutes. In the city, yeah, a house fire lost everything in 30 minutes. There are things that happen that totally alter your life, whether it's getting pregnant and you have a full ride scholarship somewhere, whether it's having to move. All of a sudden, you're in a location feeling pretty good and you have to move. But so let me ask you though, so with all these things that happen, what would your advice be? If you were standing up here and you had a room full of people and you wanted to encourage them about the journey of life and how things do happen, what would you say? What would you say, my friend? Yes. And if you talk loud, I'll repeat it for you. How do you persevere? How do you get through things? What do you do? How do you have hope in the midst?
There's a term I used to use when I would train new hires. Embrace the suck.
He said, embrace the suck. Embracing the suck means embracing the hard things in life. Not just embracing when everything's going good. It's easy to be happy. Who's not happy when things aren't going well? You know what I'm saying? But what it takes is a mental shift. That's why you see people and they go through so much stuff and you go, how in the world are they happy? How in the world are they still smiling, right? It's exactly what you said. And they found something beyond what they see. Because at some point, misery will make you sick. Right? And I'm not just, you know I'm telling the truth. I'm not just talking about physically sick. It'll do that too. It will make you emotionally sick, right? I'm just telling the truth. I'm saying it because I have walked through that. And I know what misery and pain is. I know what it means to be emotionally deplunked. And people are talking about stuff. I'm like, I have no frame of reference. I don't know what you just said for the past 30 minutes. I don't even know. I'm so out of it, I don't know. And then at some point, you begin to realize that here's the thing about life. There are some people who will never understand your situation. Never. You settle that. But then you think about, look at Parents Challenge and just what is brought to you, to your children. People who do understand. People who do want to be there for you, you know, honestly. And to be thinking about everything in life. Sometimes it seems like everything is horrible, and it may be. But there's also something to be thinking about, like you said. Embrace some things. Don't embrace everything as being negative. It's just true, even if it is. Like, what do I need to learn? I ask myself that all the time. When I've gone through things in life, even if I didn't bring it on myself, I'm like, what do I need to learn in this? You know, what do I need to learn that I can even help young people learn? What do I need to learn to help people around me learn? What does that look like? So Mystery Flight. When I came here to Colorado Springs, they were telling me about this flight with Westpac. Anybody remember that? It was here long enough. You could take am I right, Deborah? You could like take a flight and didn't know where you were going. I was like, who? Who would want to get on a plane?
Oh, just for the fun of it.
Yeah, they said just for the fun of it. Did you ever do that, Deborah? Deborah, did you ever do that? Did you ever take a flight? Did you, Westpac, did you hear about Mystery Flight? No. Oh.
Yeah, because then where do you stay when you get there? You don't know where you're going.
Who would want to take a Mystery Flight? You did? Oh, okay. Good. So let me rephrase that question. Raise your hand if you'd like to take a Mystery Flight. I love it. You're my kind of people. So was your hand up? Why would you like, could you stand up and tell us why would you like to take a Mystery Flight? It's okay, come on.
Hello, I would like, I don't know, just for the adventure, do something fun to do with like your friends or something like that. Just to like not know where you're going and the suspense of it. So what if you don't have a flight back? Okay, well you would get your flight back.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. So here's the reality about exactly what you said. It doesn't matter. Somebody may not wanna do that, but here's the thing in life, you all. We take mystery flights every day. Not physically, you know that. You wake up, things are looking one way before the sun sets. You're like, what in the world? And it can be good. Good things can happen too as well. So we did this here. Oh, so I have a sheet that's passed out. It's called Your Greatest Memory of Influence. So we're not going to get in groups for sake of time, but I want to ask you, who has a memory that was like your greatest time you influenced someone? It could be a kid, it could be a grandma, but they were like, man, that was so, what, maybe your words, maybe your presence. Who has a memory of when they influenced someone in a good way? Yes.
Mine is dreams. I work at a storage facility, so most people come in usually at the most stressful time of life. And I remember this guy. So I work at a storage facility, and so I get people who come in at usually the roughest times of their life. And there was a gentleman who came in, I thought he was kind of off, but I was nice to him anyway. He came back a month ago after being there a year and said, thank you. He goes, I didn't know what I was gonna do because my wife left me, but because you were nice to me that day, I was able to go on.
It is. You know why? And that's the truth. What's your name? Delia, you know why that's nice? Because if we have more people being kind to us, right? It's the truth. You don't know what difference that made. And you know, came back to say thank you. You didn't know that person was going through a divorce or wife has left, but all you were was being you and being kind in the moment. That is powerful. Thank you. Anyone else? Remember a kind moment or when you influence someone? Now I know it's not only one person in here. Nobody else in here has influenced anybody this year? Yes.
Kind of along the same lines as that, but I used to live over off of Academy and Pumpkin Canyon. And there was a lady on the street corner, and I can speak quick, and so I try to give off of that to other people when I can as well. So anyway, you know, a lot of times people just want money or whatever, but I just felt the need to stop, and I couldn't just stop in the park and get out of my car and walk. And I told her if she waited there, I would be right back to the house right across the street, and I went and brought her back some stuff that she can use, peanut butter, bread,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. She was just really grateful and sincere, and it just, you know, let me know that not everyone's out there just.
Yeah, no, thank you for that because